Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss books and horror. And today we're here for that middle of the year checkpoint. We're here to talk about the mid-year freakout tag.
It's coffee time.
It is good every year, when you reach that midpoint, that June-July moment, when you start to realize that, there's a lot that you wanted to read that you still haven't read. You start to panic. The year is going way too fast for your very ambitious TBR pile dreams. And it is always good to take a look at everything you've read, if it was good, if it was not good, what's still coming. So let's sit down, chit chat a little bit and answer the questions. In the description box you will find the questions for the mid-year freakout tag in case you want to do it yourself. So let's start. How has your 2023 reading year gone so far? So let's say I had quite a rocky start into the new year. I got really bad news exactly on the 2nd of January, and I went through a lot at the beginning of the year. I thought I was going to be really excited, to celebrate the new year and all the new things that I wanted to accomplish. And it started not in a good, positive environment. So I struggled a lot mentally that first couple of months. And that impacted as well my reading. I was not particularly really in the mood of sitting down and reading books. So now I am playing catch up, but I'm still slightly behind on my Goodreads goal, which is totally fine. Normally I only put a goal of 100 books per year because I think it's manageable for me. Right now I think I'm like 8 books behind, I believe, but the last month has been so good and I hope it will continue until the end of the year. So hopefully I'll be able to catch up, but if I don't get to the 100 goal, it's totally fine. I'm not gonna let that ruin my reading year or anything like that, but I will try my best though still to get to the 100 before the year ends. What is the best book that you've read so far in 2023? So obviously there's a couple of books that I really enjoyed this year, and it's still a lot to come that I'm hoping are gonna be books that I'm gonna love. But I have to say, one of the books that I read this year that I loved the most was The Midnight Game by Cynthia Murphy. I went into the book without expectations, to be honest, and I ended up binging it in 1-2 days because I just could not put it down, and I had so much fun with that book. It is a horror book that is not afraid to embrace all the horror tropes and what comes with it, and it turned it into something different. It was a modern take on a lot of those horror tropes, and you can tell that the author loves horror. It also combines kind of old school horror vibes with modern ones. We have characters that are trapped in a building, but they are not allowed to use their phones, and they are walking around with candles, like real candles, and it offers a lot of atmosphere, from those older horror movies. But then we have the modern aspects of the book, and we have the characters connecting and finding each other through a chat, a group of people that are looking for horror games that they can play, like the Midnight Game, and it just combined the two things, the modern and the old school horror so well. It was fantastic. It has some really cool twists and turns, and definitely if there is a book that I can recommend you for this year, it's going to be that one. It is YA horror, but it is kind of like a more intense horror than other YAs that I have read, so definitely recommend you guys that one. Best sequel you've read so far in 2023. So honestly, I don't read many sequels because most horror books are standalones. I don't read fantasy as I used to before, but I did read Lockwood and Co, The Whispering Skull, which is book 2 in the Lockwood and Co series, and I absolutely loved it. I fell in love with the characters and with the world that Jonathan Stroud has built in this series. I found myself enjoying these books, devouring them, and definitely it's a series that I want to continue. I think this is actually the only sequel that I have read this year, if I'm not wrong, so I am glad that it's one that I loved. A new release you haven't read but you want to. The first one on the list is Everything the Darkness Eats by Eric LaRocca, and this is going to be his first novel. So far he's written short horror stories, or novellas, but not a full-length novel, and this one is, so I'm really excited. Now the book is officially already out, but I am waiting for the hardcover release that I believe is going to be in September, so that's the one that I'm gonna grab and add it to the collection. So I'm just waiting for the edition that I prefer, let's say. And the other one is the new book on the You series by Caroline Kepnes. It is called For You and You Only, and it is book number 4 in the series. And the reason why I haven't read this one yet is because the paperback, it is extremely expensive at the moment. It costs the same as a hardcover, and I'm not willing to pay that much money for a paperback when I can wait. In this case, I have all the books in paperback, so I am waiting for a paperback release or waiting for the price to go down. So I'm just waiting until I can grab it for a fair price. I just don't like to pay like 24 euros for a paperback. That's like way too much money, because that's what you pay for a hardcover. Most anticipated releases for the second part of the year. So some of the most anticipated ones, you can see them on a video that I uploaded recently about Yuck, because I am excited about some new releases of the authors that are going to attend the convention. So I will be definitely picking them up. We also have the new Stephen King book coming out called Holy. I don't even know what it's about. I just auto buy Stephen King books and I just go into them. That's what I do at this point. I'm gonna read it, so I don't really bother much to find out what they're about. It's like Stephen King's coming out with a new book, I'm buying that. And of course, and this is not horror, but I am dying to get Heartstopper Volume 5. We've been waiting long for this, and Alice Oseman revealed that the series is not going to end on volume 5, which was her intention at the beginning, but she decided that she had so much to tell to end the story properly that we're going to get volume 5 and 6, which I really appreciated, because she realized as an author that she could not give us a last volume that was going to be, fulfilling, so she decided to split it into 2. And I'm really excited, which means that I still have 2 to read before she ends the series, which is sad, but it's great. This year we're getting Heartstopper Season 2 on Netflix on, I believe, the 3rd of August. And we're also getting Heartstopper Volume 5. So everything is gonna be great this year. Biggest disappointment of 2023 so far. So here we're gonna talk about Echo by Thomas Oldgewalt. And it's because I loved Hex so much. I thought it was such a genius, intelligent book about an app and a witch, and kind of, again, integrating old school horror with modern things. And I love when books can do that. I love the combo between the two, because on the one hand, I like nostalgia technology or more old school stuff, but I also like to see horror, including the new technologies. And I loved Hex a lot, so I was excited to read something else by the author. And I don't know, I picked up this book, I guess, with high expectations, and I ended up being really disappointed. I was bored for the majority of the book. I could not care less about the characters. I was not in love with the horror aspects of it, and it was just a mess for me. So this was the saddest story so far for 2023. Biggest surprise of 2023 so far. Here I'm gonna pick a book that I reviewed recently on the channel, which is Let's Play Murder by Kezia Lupo. And the reason why it was a surprise is because I picked up this book without knowing much about it. I knew it was a new YA horror thriller release, and it had some VR gaming included in it. So I decided to give it a shot, and I had not checked other people's reviews, so I went a little bit blind into it. And I was hooked from the beginning. I was so invested. I love the characters, I love the setting. And again, it has new technology that it's included in a horror story. But then we also had a couple of characters that were a little bit more old school, that were not such big fans of technology and VR gaming and all of that. So it had a little bit of a balance between main characters that loved virtual gaming and other characters that just rather be home, you know, cozy with their book. And I don't know, it had that kind of vibe. We're also in a mansion in the 80s, and it brought a lot of like old school stuff to it as well. So I really enjoyed it. If you love books that combine some sort of game, this one is going to be great for you. It's almost like escape room scenario. Basically, 5 characters wake up inside of a VR game, trapped in a mansion where a murder has been committed, and they have to solve the murder if they want to get out of that mansion back into the real world. But of course, things are not going to be that easy, and it was great. I loved it, binged it, so it was a surprise because I didn't expect to love that one that much. Favorite new author. This can be a debut novel that came out or an author that is new to you. So for this, I have picked Cynthia Murphy, and she was not a new author to me in a sense, but I started reading her books in 2023. So this year so far, I have read 2 of her books, and both of them have been big hits for me. I love her writing. I just love how the pacing is, how interesting the plots are, the twist. Like, I just love everything about her story so far. So she has become an auto-buy author for me, and this year she's also coming up with a new novel, which I'm really excited about. So the 2 books that I have read so far are The Midnight Game and Last One to Die. I still have on my TBR, I think it's Win, Lose, Kill, Die. And she's also coming up with another book this year that I also have in pre-order. So I'm really excited, but at the same time, it's like, am I gonna binge her 4 books in 1 year and then have nothing? Might happen, because I love her books. So I do recommend you, for example, if you are in a reading slump, to pick up one of her books, because like I said, the pacing is amazing and the stories are so engaging and the books are so bingeable. Like, I swear they're gonna take you out of the reading slump. Newest fictional crush. So let me tell you something. I don't really fall in love with book characters. I don't know, I don't tend to. I don't think I ever really did. The only one that I love is Ron Weasley, but that was many years ago. I also feel like in horror books, not all characters are really nice. So for me, there's just characters that I love and characters that I hate. But love in the sense of, I really love the way this character was created, or how badass this character was. And this year, you could say maybe I fell in love with the Lockwood and Co. crew. So there is 3 characters that are in Lockwood and Co. And the trio has such a wonderful dynamic, and I love them so much. And I cannot wait to keep having adventures with them. So I love the found family aspect that they bring as well, and I love to see them trying to solve all of these supernatural cases. And I guess if I would have to pick a character that I fell in love with this year, it would be that trio. Book that made you cry. So again, I do not tend to cry with books. It is a lot easier for me to cry watching a movie or a TV show than reading a book. There has been books in the past that have managed to get me extremely sad, but not to the point where I would have actual tears. I have tried to look for a sad book that I read this year, but I don't really read many of those, even though I do like horror books that include grief. I read Sundial by Catriona Ward, which has a lot of grief and a lot of trigger warnings in it, but it's not something that would bring me to tears. And I also read How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix, which also includes the elements of grief and the loss of a loved one, but it also didn't really make me cry. So it's hard for me to cry with books, but those are two more emotional books, I would say, that I read this year. A book that you saw on TikTok and regret buying. So I honestly do not really buy the books that I see on TikTok just because I saw them on TikTok, because most of the time the books that are being hyped are books that are just not my cup of tea and I kind of already know. But if I see a book on TikTok that sparks my interest, and then I see, you know, my friends talking about it in the BookTube community saying that they loved it, then I'm inclined to pick it up. I try not to just get overhyped TikTok books because I'm probably gonna end up being disappointed, let's face it. So I try to look for other reviews, other opinions before I grab those books. Most beautiful book you bought this year. Honestly, there's many books that I love the covers, and there is many books that I have purchased this year where I was like, oh, I love that cover so much. I will mention here a book which is Dead Flip, because I went into the store, saw the cover, and that's the only reason why I bought the book. So this is a 100% cover buy, and it is kind of like a Stranger Things vibe book, a little bit old school, you know, with kids and a mystery, also a little bit of Fear Street in this book. And I just saw the cover, fell in love with it, and had to get it. And also this year I have been buying a couple of more vintage paperbacks, and those I love. And I managed to get a copy of this book, which is Darkest Hour by V.C. Andrews. And I always wanted to get these old school vintage copies of her books where you could open them like this. I just love that so much. So I was so happy that I found this book. And this one brings me a lot of joy and happiness just by staring at it. So this is another one that I bought this year that I love. What are the books that you need to read before the end of the year? Too many. Let's face it. Let's be honest. I still have so many books that I want to read. There is a lot of books that are still coming, like a lot of pre-orders still to the end of the year. So some new releases. But then I also have other kind of like books that I want to use for some themed vlogs that I want to do. I especially want to do more themed vlogs when it comes to October, November, you know, spooky season. So I'm really excited for all of those. Favorite video you've made so far in 2023. So one of the videos I love the most, like preparing and doing, was my video where I talked about the subgenres of horror, and I know you guys also enjoyed that one a lot. So I would like to still do more of those and do different videos about more subgenres, and then go into different subgenres of horror and focus on that lore and the type of books that were published and all of that. So I do want to get to that. It's just for those videos I need extra time to prepare everything. A video you thought would flop but did well. To be honest, I don't check my statistics. Maybe I should. I don't really pay much attention to, you know, if this video made X amount of views compared to that other video. But what I have noticed is that my book reviews get less views in general. And I know that one of my most popular videos, it's always the upcoming book releases, which I am really happy because I do spend a lot of time preparing those, and I am so glad that it helps you guys to find books. And I know many of you find new releases that you didn't know of, and that makes me really happy. Probably not your bank account. But I'm making you happy, which is what I'm here for. But also, funny enough, those upcoming book releases videos are the ones that tend to get dislikes. And I'm like, why didn't you like this video? You just don't like new releases? You just don't like my face. Like, I don't know, it's just funny to me that those get dislikes, because it's like, I'm just actually listing books that are about to be released. So like, I don't know who you have beef with. Any upcoming videos you're excited to make? Well, yes, I'm excited to go to York and vlog the experience and all of that. I'm really excited about that. And I'm also excited to finally get to my themed reading vlogs as well, which I'm hoping, you know, November, October, that's when everything is gonna be cooked. And I'm really excited for those. Any channel goals before the end of the year? So I don't know, I would just like for the channel to keep steadily growing bit by bit. I would have loved this year to make it to 5K, but I think that's impossible. However, I would still like it to make it maybe to 4K. That's a little bit more achievable. But like I said, I don't like set myself goals for every year or stuff like that when it comes to numbers. I do YouTube because it's a hobby of mine. I don't do it as my job, and I am thankfully not so stressed about numbers because of that, because it's not what helps me pay my bills. So I just, you know, hope for the best. I hope you guys enjoy what you see. Hope that more people join the coffee family, and yeah, just take it one day at a time. Alright you guys, so this was the mid-year freakout tag. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know down below if there's anything you like more or less about the channel and what type of videos you would like to see in the future, because I appreciate so much all your feedback. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know down below. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all as always in our next coffee time. Bye!